You're watching a WPTV special, Coverage Collapse.
Florida's insurance crisis has many faces and voices.
Please help us, not just me. Do you know how many people are in my position?
We've heard the stories, your stories.
Let's move to Florida like it's a paradise, and now it's just hell.
The crushing cost of premium increases, the canceled policies, the uncertainty of citizens.
I watch you guys every morning, every afternoon, and at 7 o'clock. And I've been watching this and trying to follow this story multiple ways to see what I can do.
You turned to us, and we went to Tallahassee. I'm Sczesny inside the Florida State Capitol in Tallahassee, determined to get answers and help people stay in their homes.
When I saw the piece that you did on the My Safe Florida Home program and the lack of funds.
A program so popular, it's run out of money.
I couldn't help myself but reach out to you to let you know that I was one of those people who had applied and was hoping to be approved.
In some cases, even steps toward relief seem to create more anxiety and stress. We haven't stopped trying, looking for the hope in a crisis that stretches across the state.
And I'd like to thank you, Matt, for contacting My Safe Florida Home on my behalf. And who knows, maybe that little push is what made this all happen.
The insurance industry in Florida, tumbling towards collapse, needs intervention now. Only possible with thorough, rapid bipartisan agreement and unprecedented market management. And I'm talking directly to several state leaders tonight as they've just returned from the legislative session. And an insurance agent comes into the discussion. Where do exhausted Florida homeowners go from here? This is a WPTV special, Coverage Collapse. And good evening. Welcome. I'm Matt Sczesny. And joining us tonight, several lawmakers. State Senator Lori Berman, State Representative Mike Caruso, State Representative Gervonta Edmonds, and from the Wigglesworth Wyndham Insurance Agency in Stuart, Lee Wigglesworth. Good evening and welcome. Thanks for joining us for this.
Thank you for having me.
Great to be here, man.
I know at least three of you are just back from Tallahassee, and I'm saying within 24 hours for some of you. It's been a long 2 months of session. A lot got accomplished. Some would argue a lot didn't get accomplished. Representative Caruso, I want to start with you because you're a Republican. Republicans are in power in Tallahassee, and there were some wins there, right? Several bills did get passed.
We did.
Such as what? I mean, the biggest one I've heard so far is My Safe Florida Home.
Well, with regards to insurance,
right,
and it is the most pressing issue to Floridians today. My office gets calls, hundreds of calls. We get thousands of emails, and it's always about some constituent who's complaining about their 30% increase in their premiums. And what they're doing is, they said, you were called, I thought, what happened to special session back after Hurricane Ian,
right,
where we had a $60 billion catastrophe, and the governor called us into special session. We went up there. We did a lot of work. We did tort reform. We did assignment of benefits. We dealt with bad faith actors.
Right.
And this year, and we also established My Florida Safe Home.
Right.
And financed that, funded it.
$200 million, that's a lot of money. That was kind of double from what initially people thought was going to be $100 million. So there's a lot of money in that program. It's supposed to restart up with applications July 1.
That's right.
And a lot of people are looking forward to that.
We thought that was important to fully fund it with twice the amount of the prior year.
Okay.
And take care of people who are trying to make their homes better.
Senator Berman, I see you kind of grinning over here. I know Democrats are saying it's not enough. More could have been done.
Absolutely. I mean, the problem is we did a few things, but your insurance bill isn't going to be any lower right now. People aren't seeing the immediate impact, and it's not an immediate impact. I understand that it will take a while for things to happen, but we did a few things. I feel like there were other things that we should have been doing that could have maybe had more of an impact.
And Representative Edmonds, you had an interesting bill that was, you wanted to actually give people cash, right? Money to go towards their premiums.
That-
But that didn't go anywhere.
That was my goal. I know we have to face this with long-term solutions and short-term solutions. Here in the state of Florida, we just passed a $117 billion budget. So we're not short of money, maybe ideas, but the possibility of making sure that we can offer a short-term solution by actually paying for our actual residents' mortgages and insurance payments was my solution. I took up 2 bill slots out of the 7 to try to offer that solution. So I know that we may be separate parties, but this issue transcends party lines.
And Representative Caruso, there is still the belief that, as you mentioned, those reforms that went into place many, many months ago are taking hold, and there are some positive signs out there.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of insurance companies come back into the marketplace. Citizens is not the only insurer on the record right now.
Right.
They're starting to come back in. I think 7 in the last few months. 120 days, 7 insurance companies have come back into our market.
Right.
And so that's a good sign. It's a healthy sign. But until constituents see their insurance rates go down, they're gonna think we haven't done a thing, and we've done a lot. It's just going to take some time.
And that leads me over here to you, Lee Wigglesworth. You're on the front lines dealing with these homeowners, right? Is Representative Caruso right? They're waiting and want to see some results here?
Yeah, they are. What we're kind of guiding our customers through and prospects that call, I'm not as optimistic that the prices will come down, but not for the work that's not trying to be done, just for what we're seeing, inflation on building materials, cost of materials, and claims frequency increasing. What I think we're going to see is we're seeing the rates stabilize. We're seeing that we're seeing less and less of the 40% rate increase every year. Our average rate increase for all of our customers this year right now that I've been tracking is about 15%. Which in the past 2 years, we were seeing like 60% every year.
And a lot of people, as we had talked earlier, are so shell-shocked from this that a 15% increase doesn't even surprise them anymore.
Well, unfortunately, we've been conditioned to expect either a non-renewal or a premium doubling. So yeah, we get some customers surprised they're still getting a renewal offer and happy that they have that because they know their neighbors are getting non-renewed or canceled.
Right. All right, so overall, how do you think the legislature did?
I think the legislature, I would give us a C if I was going to grade things. There are other ideas that are out there that we should be taking advantage of, and we're not. I had a bill, for instance, which was based on what happened in 2008, when we put together all different experts, and they came to the table, and we made a continuing commission, and they gave us recommendations. Why aren't we doing something like that right now?
I got to give Representative Caruso an opportunity. What do you think the grade goes for the legislature on insurance this year?
I'd say, I would say we've got about an A-.
Okay.
I think there's more to be done. And I think, as the senator said, we got to start thinking outside the box to come up with those ideas. Maybe like depreciate roofs, and you know, and there's, I don't know, we've got to, you know, the whole idea right now, what we do is, you know, somebody has a 25-year-old roof, and a hurricane comes along, and we put on a brand new roof. And I talked to one constituent today, and I asked her, how old's your roof? She said 20 years, and she says, I'm waiting for the next hurricane to replace my roof.
Oh boy, that's not a good position to be in.
That's not how it works.
All right, we're going to take our first break. We've got a lot ahead. We're going to talk about a lot of things, including voters' attitudes and even citizens' insurance. So this coverage collapse special is just getting started. Stay with us. Welcome back. For many homeowners, the cost of insurance has them facing some hard choices. And this year I spoke with one woman, a retired widow of a military veteran who was worried about losing her home.
Every day I get up and think, oh, well, do I start packing?
It's a frightening reality for Ellen Fincher, a fear she will lose her home. And it centers on the rising cost of her homeowner's insurance, the best rate she could find.
$13,000.
How can you make those monthly payments?
You can't. Not when you're on fixed income.
72 years old and widowed, she's lived in this Vero Beach house for 10 years. Her high premium, a typical Florida story. Older construction home, and it needs a roof before she can even think of trying to sell. Greg Buck is with the National Risk Experts in Palm Beach Gardens.
I can just tell you right here, Vero is one place, but, you know, Palm Beach Gardens, and these are homes that, you know, they're again, fixed income. Social Security, they're not getting paid a lot, have a small pension maybe, but even so, when you're paying $1,200 to $1,500 a month just for the assessment, What do you do?
Please help us. Not just me. Do you know how many people are in my position?
Yeah, so that is a really tough situation. I actually had contact with Ellen recently. She's still in her home, and she's still trying to work things out, so she's got that. But she does worry about what the rest of the year is facing. And Representative Edmonds, I see you nodding your head. You've probably know or heard from a lot of seniors, even here in Palm Beach County, who are like this.
From rental prices increases to the insurance going up, our senior citizens can't live off a Social Security check. And with us having almost the 16th largest biggest budget in the world, we have to find solutions. And there were great solutions offered from both sides of the aisle. They just have to be heard and accepted.
What will it take, Representative Caruso, do you think? I mean, she hasn't left her home, and we've heard of people who are moving, but it hasn't been en masse at this point. It's just some people making that hard decision to move. Some of these people feel like they're not being heard, but I imagine you are familiar with these stories.
And my heart goes out to Ellen and all individuals in her situation. It's sad, and they're not just facing insurance, they're facing property taxes. If they live in condos or homeowner associations, they have new reserves they have to deal with, and they've got new minimum construction requirements they have to meet from an engineering perspective. So they're getting a perfect trifecta of trying to push them out of their homes, and we've got to get together. It's all hands on deck.
We've gotten to a point now, Lee, where a lot of seniors who own their homes outright are going what they call naked on insurance, or at least wind coverage, dropping that entirely. What do you think of that move?
We do see that. We try to talk to our clients on an individual basis. I think everyone's financial situation is different. Everyone's risk management is different. I mean, the main thing, if you're going without hurricane coverage in South Florida, do you have enough in the bank to then pay for your hurricane damage? So that's the fear. If most people calling about these can't afford the premiums, they're not going to be able to afford a new roof.
So what advice do you give them when they come?
We go through their policy. We look at ways to get creative, other things we can take off. If we can go naked on contents, I feel a lot better about that than going naked on hurricane. If we can look at everything comprehensively and then kind of walk it through with them on what works best for their situation.
Senator Berman, I traded emails with a gentleman who used to live in Port St. Lucie, moved to northern Georgia, and people are going to be shocked about this, but he says his insurance on a 3-bedroom ranch house in North Georgia is now $1,500 a year. That's kind of tough. Do you worry about people leaving this state?
Absolutely. I mean, we just talked about the trifecta that Rep. Caruso mentioned. People cannot afford to stay in their homes, and it's especially our seniors who are on these fixed incomes. And I do worry that people are leaving the state. I know we've talked in the past about how we really should have a national catastrophic insurance program, and that would level the playing field so that we could have the same rates as North Georgia. But that's got to be done on a national level, and we're here on the state level trying to do what we can, at least to help people on the state level.
Right. I mean, that's a big fix, and I don't think that's anytime soon something like that is going to happen. So where do we kind of go from here? We talked about thinking out of the box and trying to prevent people from packing up and leaving, because a lot of people still moving to the state, and they get surprised when they move to the state as to what these costs can be.
Right.
What can we do?
We have 1,000 people moving to the state of Florida a day. And I think one of the simple solutions is expanding citizens. There were many proposals of expansion of citizens. So I think that is a short-term solution that will help.
We're going to get to that, because that's a pretty radical idea that's out there, and it was actually brought up during this last legislative session, was expanding citizens. I think this is a good time for us to take a quick break. We are going to continue our discussion. We're going to talk about voter attitudes regarding insurance, and also we are going to have that discussion about citizens, so stay with us.
Gone back to 1992.
Welcome back. This year, presidential politics will dominate our news and social media feeds with talk about the economy and immigration. But here in Florida, it seems one issue is on most minds, and you guessed it, insurance. For Floridians, the pain of insurance is still very real.
I'm still trying to see what else is out there, to be honest with you. And so far, not much.
Debbie Pratt has another week to keep trying to shop around for homeowners insurance. Costs are still high, and so is anxiety. 21% of Florida voters polled by the Associated Industries of Florida this month flagged insurance as a big problem, more than illegal immigration. And 55% say both Democrats and Republicans aren't doing enough about it. The state's consumer advocate breaks down the chief complaints.
In terms of the homeowners insurance market, two of the primary concerns that still currently exist is the cost of homeowners insurance and the availability.
That's Tasha Carter, who is the Florida State Insurance Consumer Advocate. She's very nice. She is kind of the sounding board for everybody in the state of Florida to bring their problems. And she does answer her emails. I have proof of that because I've heard from people out there. But Representative Caruso, you brought an interesting point during the break to talk about how we got here, how we got to this point with all these increases. And I want to start with discussion with a headline I saw in the Wall Street Journal recently that said, insurance giants, shares and profits hitting record numbers right now. They got a lot of money out of a lot of us over the last 2 years. How did we get to this point?
It all started back in 1992 with Hurricane Andrew. The world changed when it came to Florida insurance rates. They went up then, and ever since. We had a down period, but beginning in 2017, we've had a fiery experience with hurricanes lately, one after the other. I believe we've had $150 billion of damages from hurricanes since 2017 alone. When you take the severity of these casualties, catastrophes, and the frequency, it's not a good recipe for low insurance.
Senator Berman, I know Democrats are a little suspicious of these insurance companies, and you all would probably like to get a little bit closer look at their books, right? To see where they really are at financially.
I mean, one of the pieces of legislation this year is to say that if you're an insolvent carrier, you can't give a bonus to your executives. So we're worried about what kind of bonuses they're giving to their executives. You know, we are not sure how these carriers have operated in good faith in the state of Florida. Right. And then we've also seen lots of the big carriers, the more bigger names, leave the state. So we're left with these companies that are probably a lot less well capitalized, and they're here in the state. And I worry that we've got some, you know, we don't want fly-by-night insurers.
Lee, it's a good question. I get a lot of emails from people asking me about these insurance companies, names they don't recognize. I mean, how solid are they?
I mean, they go through the process. They're admitted carriers that we primarily deal with, so they are part of the Florida Insurance Guarantee Association. But the big companies aren't down here. There's been, what we kind of haven't talked about is through the last storms, there's also a lot of people taking opportunity of those storms. A lot of people, I'm sure a lot of your viewers know their neighbors that got free roofs. Those roofs are in our premium. A lot of people have started the mentality of social inflation is what their actuaries are calling it. It's the willingness to make it more like a home warranty policy.
And we've also talked about some of the litigation reforms because there's been a lot of criticism about the litigation, the widespread litigation, how Florida was leading the nation on these things. Representative Edmonds?
Yeah, they said that Florida led in litigation. Almost 78% of litigation was coming straight out of Florida. So I think we took the necessary steps to stop the fraud and the third-party assignments. But I think the answers are really right before us. This My Safe Florida Home program, the Citizens program, insurance that we have, I think it's all about expansion and growing those programs that we have.
There's some risk, right? Especially growing Citizens. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I mean, Citizens can't grow anymore, right?
When you make Florida the insurer of Florida, that's not good for our stability and long-term plan.
All right, we are going to talk about Citizens in detail right after this break, so stay with us as our coverage collapse continues.
You're watching a WPTV special, Coverage Collapse.
All right, welcome back. Fixing insurance in Florida has drawn a lot of ideas, some of them even radical. And last month, one radical idea emerged to make Citizens insurance much bigger.
We have the solution.
That bold statement came from State Rep Spencer Roach, a Fort Myers Republican, telling a House committee his solution to Florida's insurance crisis is to do what California did 28 years ago, create a special state insurance plan that in Florida would have Citizens cover all wind claims.
It provided insurance for all claims and only claims related to these natural disasters and left the private market to pick up the rest. The result? Rates dropped like a stone.
The reaction from Citizens CEO?
This is a very different change in direction. It would fundamentally change the mission of Citizens.
The idea of the state insuring all homeowners for wind is a big change. CEO Jimmy Petronas doesn't like it, while others watching Florida's insurance crisis admit it's worth looking at.
There are some places where Citizens may be able to play a little bit better role in the market. So one of them is the wind. I think they could possibly have to do that.
I believe that Florida will eventually and inevitably follow this model.
All right, so I said it was radical, and it is radical. But there are some people who are out there who believe, and you're smiling, Representative Caruso, that ultimately this might be the way that the state has to go. Do you believe that?
Well, I commend Representative Roach for his ideas, thinking outside the box. But I don't think it's time to California or Florida at this point. You know, Florida's debt-free. California is all about debt and kind of going the wayward. I just don't think we should follow they're not the example. They're not the beacon on the hill, the shining beacon on the hill that we should look towards.
Senator Berman, what do you think? I mean, some people do say it might be a way of socializing insurance. Do you believe that?
I don't know if it's socialization, but it's sort of what I said about the national level. Let the national level take all of our, which is not happening. So this is putting it on the state level. I give them a lot of credit for bringing that idea forward. I'd like to see us spend some time really researching it. Would it cause rates to drop? How much of a risk would we be taking? And that's a big problem. You know, it is Citizens is us. So how much of a risk are we taking?
Well, that's a good point, and I want to lead into some comments that Governor DeSantis recently made about Citizens. So let's take a listen.
It is not solvent, and we can't have millions of people on that because if a storm hits, it's going to cause problems for the state. So they're taking out those policies. The interesting thing is, about 30% of those policies from Citizens, these new private insurers will actually be able to offer lower rates to those people. No one thought that was possible. So I think because we've reformed those underlying dynamics, I think it's more attractive today to offer policies than it was over the last 20 years.
Okay, that's called the takeouts, right? Lee, you're probably familiar with those takeout letters. I'm sure you've had a lot of policyholders who have gotten them. The initial criticism was that some of these offers were just way too high to leave Citizens. Are they getting better?
More companies are coming in to be part of the depopulation. So I think as that happens, as more market access opens up, the market will drive that back down. That's kind of what we're seeing with new companies coming in. And Citizens has ballooned to a point that the way it's set up now, it's not sustainable. And then the whole process of rejecting that depopulation is just something you got to be educated on.
Representative Evans, we were talking during the break about Citizens, its exposure in the state. The last check I did this morning was over 1.1 million policies. Right. If a devastating storm does hit a heavily populated part of the state like this one, then it ends up that everybody in Florida is on the hook to bail out Citizens.
And I understand that there is about 1.2 million residents on Citizens, but Citizens can no longer be the insurance company of last resort. Again, as I stated in the beginning, we have $117 billion, almost $10 billion in reserves. So we have to find innovative ways to increase the finance for Citizens. There was a proposal by Senator Hooper to increase the cap from $700,000 to increase more houses being folded under to Citizens, and I think that's a great idea.
Well, certainly no doubt. Citizens will continue this aggressive move of trying to get more people off their rolls and into the private market. I did recently talk with the CEO of Citizens, Mr. Serio, and he explained about some of these takeouts. So let's take a listen to what he had to say.
When you talk about the 20% rule, if somebody is forced to leave, they may not be happy that they're forced to leave because they received an offer within 20%. But when you figure that for most of Florida, Citizens policyholders are paying 40% below what they should be, it's it's, you know, you can see the logic, and I know nobody. I don't want to pay more for my homeowner's insurance. Nobody does, but right. we have to stop competing with the private market.
And that's kind of hard, right? Because of the glide path, right, Representative Caruso? The glide path prevents citizens from increasing their rates to what the market is right now. So Mr. Serio consistently says they're artificially low, which is why people keep running to Citizens.
That's right. And what we did this year, Matt, was if you can get an insurance policy that's within 20% of Citizens, and you have to go onto that policy.
Right.
And that's to encourage a healthy marketplace. We need a healthy marketplace, and that is ultimately the end or the answer to what we're dealing with in terms of insurance for everybody. If we want rates to go down, it's not going to be through a Citizens run by the state of Florida. It's going to be through a marketplace, a competitive marketplace that doesn't have the problems that we had set up administratively, such as assignment of benefits, tort laws, where one-way legal fees. That was just it was another recipe for disaster.
Right, and Lee, there are rules with these takeouts that I assume still exist, right? I mean, we have the 20% rule in place, but if that offer is over 20%, the homeowner doesn't have to take that.
Correct.
But they can't ignore it either.
Correct. Yeah, they do have to opt out of that, or they will go into it. But yeah, you don't have to aggressively overpay for that. I mean, Citizens is growing because the market is so high right now, or non-existent because they're shut off for their age of home or age of roof.
All right, so don't ignore the letter if you get it, and probably more people are going to be getting them this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Senator?
One of the things that we did also, if the governor signs it, says that if you have a second home in Florida, or a vacation home, or even a rental home, you will not be able to get Citizens if a surplus lines carrier comes in and gives you within the 20%.
So that affects about 70,000 potentially such homes in the state. And Lee, maybe you can explain to me what a surplus line insurer is.
Yeah, so surplus lines carrier, it's not a part of the admitted market, which means some of the stuff we talked about earlier of it being vetted, they're not regulated at the same capacity. So most of the companies are bigger global carriers, so it's not that much of a worry, but they can increase your rates drastically, they can drop coverages, they have different rules they get to play with.
They're regulated differently.
Correct.
But people shouldn't freak out if they get a letter from a surplus line carrier, a takeout letter.
No, I think they need to be educated on who that company is, the history of what they've done, what the coverages are offering. Because they're not as regulated as much, they can change that homeowner's policy more than a typical homeowner's policy. Right. But then there's other options available. There's companies, private carriers coming out with dwelling fire policies. So it's not a homeowner's policy, or HO3 to be technical, but you can get a DP3, and they can do things like depreciated value on your roof, where there is still capacity in the market for you.
All right, we got to take another quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the very popular My Safe Florida Home program. So stay with us as coverage collapses. All right, welcome back. One idea to try and knock down premiums has been with the My Safe Florida Home program. It's been so popular, it ran out of money last year. And just a few weeks ago, Florida's chief financial officer was in Lake Worth Beach saying it will be back.
My name is Jimmy Petronas. I'm the CFO of the state of Florida, and my office gets to be the administrator of the My Safe Florida Home program.
Florida's top guy in insurance was in Lake Worth Beach at a place that installs impact windows and doors to say there is help coming to Florida My Safe Home, a program now drained of money by its popularity, offering inspections and grants to fix up homes against storms.
But when the state is doing well financially, we should make sure that the resources that we've got are helping people live in an affordable Florida.
Petronas wants $200 million put into the program, backed up with a long line of people waiting for money and even longer lines waiting to apply. One South Florida teacher here says she got 10 grand for doors and saved on insurance.
My premium went down about $400, which is better than nothing.
Everything is now screwed to the frame of the house.
But out in Lake Worth Beach, the mood is more somber, where one homeowner says thousands he spent on a roof and windows only raised his premium.
Not an answer at all. All they keep saying, it's coming, it's coming. Well, I'm almost 63. Will I see it before I croak? I don't know.
All right. So, as we said, there's a lot of frustration out there. But this program really is the bright spot, I think, out of what's come out of the state capitol in regards to helping people with premiums. Would everybody kind of agree with that?
100%.
Yes.
I mean, we're seeing these reductions. For the most part, these home improvements are reducing premiums. Representative Caruso?
First, I want to commend Chief Financial Officer Petronas for his work, his leadership in the whole process of this program, and raising it to $200 million, I think, was key, and opening it up to seniors and low-income individuals is also a key, because they're the ones that are hit hardest by these higher insurance.
So it's right. There are some new rules, and we have a graphic, I think, that we can put up. There are some new rules for the My Safe Florida Home program this year. We mentioned the $200 million in new funding. The application process, as far as we know, is set to open in July 1st, when the fiscal year starts. And there will, as you mentioned, Representative Caruso, priority for seniors and low-income families. Senator Berman, good idea right there?
I think it's a great idea. I love this. I love the My Safe Florida Home program. It helps people fix their roofs, their windows, their skylights, their garage doors, their front doors. You apply for the program, and now that we're making this priority for people who are it's over 60 and within certain income limits. I think that's a really smart idea. They're going to get first priority, then we're going to have a second priority for low income and not over 60, and then it goes down the line. So I think it's going to be an amazing, program as it continues. It's hard because there's not enough money. And there are people, I get complaints in my office all the time, people who have applied and don't get a response. But
we talked during the session about this, and you were worried that it wasn't going to be enough money, that it would go too fast. And there's a lot of people out there waiting for this program to open.
Yes, it does. I think it will go very fast. And I added up the numbers from when we started the program.
Right.
We will have put in $626 million from the start of this program.
So, Representative Edmonds, what are your thoughts about this? Do you have a lot of people in your district who are anxious for this program?
Well, this is an amazing program. We still have people on the back list that we still have to give services to. This is probably the best program that has came out of session. The goal is, again, to lower insurance prices and stop people from getting dropped by their roof damages. And so this program has been perfect, and we're going to continuously fund it year after year.
And I am still hearing from people who got approved last fall who we're still waiting for their money now, and it's trickling through just because of the crush of this program, how many people got in. Lee, is it working? Is it lowering premiums for people when they do this?
Yeah, if you upgrade your home to meet current codes, it's gonna be there. I think the more important thing, the reason insurance companies are able to offer a premium reduction is because your home is becoming safer. It's gonna be more able to withstand that. If the roof is getting strapped down and it wasn't before, if your windows are being protected and there's no entry point that can have a wind access and blow that roof off, it's protected. The insurance companies know that. They offer discounts for that.
And, we were talking, I wanted to finish up one other point, but, shoring up homes, people have told me in Tallahassee and all around the state, is really the best way to try and fight this insurance crisis. But not everybody has $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to sink into their home. Do you find a lot of people are still trying to access this program that you deal with, your policy holders?
Yeah, a lot of people, because of your program, like getting the education out there, a lot of people don't know who's eligible, where to go. So we get that information as well and pass them on to it. But yeah, we get calls on it quite often.
And Matt, if I could interrupt,
Sure.
And one thing that we haven't talked about is the PACE program. And that's a loan program that individuals can access to do improvements like replacing the roof or windows, because $10,000 is not going to put a new roof and new windows on your home. And so the PACE program is a loan program that's pretty much, if you own your home, it's guaranteed you're going to get it.
And it might be an easier way for people to access more quickly than getting in a long line waiting for grants. But we should also point out that even without the $10,000 grant, My Safe Florida Home does offer free wind mitigation inspections for homes, right?
Exactly.
So if your home is shored up and you get a really good report back, you can take that to the insurance company, Lee?
Yeah, and you can call your insurance agent even before you do this, and if I got a new roof, what would my insurance premium go down? They can reshop the market for you. But yeah, getting that report, if hopefully everyone has one.
And I gotta mention that we got a pilot program, My Safe Florida Condo right?
Correct.
That's new.
Yes.
Condo owners have been waiting for this.
Exactly. I mean, condo owners have the same issues. They have the same windows and doors and worries about their roof, but the roof is a common roof. So
Right.
so up until now they weren't
Right.
able to do it. It's just a pilot program, and it's
Pilot program.
30 million.
Another 30 million.
30 million, and it's open only to condo associations to overall
Right
fix
now.
the overall bill.
Right now.
Okay, very good. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about some of these new companies that are coming into the state of Florida. Our coverage collapse continues.
I mean, we have.
All right, welcome back to Coverage Collapse. We want to continue our discussion, talk a little bit about some of the new companies that are coming into the state of Florida. One of them is called Orion 180, and recently I had a chance to talk with its CEO, Ken Gregg. So just take a little bit of a listen to some of our discussion about his company entering the Florida marketplace.
The fact of the matter is that Florida is a challenging market on homeowners because there's a lot of factors that come into play. Everyone has, read about and talked about for a long time, but it's a challenging environment, and I'm not 100% sure it's solved. I believe there's an area that you can come here and try to bring a solution. So we're going to come this year in a very measured way and wait to see how things shake out.
All right, Ken Gregg told me that they are going to start writing policies probably midsummer or so. They don't have a set schedule yet. But he also said he was just going to do coastal properties all the way from Tampa St. Pete down around up to Brevard County. We don't know a lot about a lot of these new companies, but you did mention some of them fall under a category of, what was the name again?
Reciprocals?
Reciprocals.
Yeah, just insurance companies trying to get creative, just a different way to set it up. So instead of being a public or a privately traded company, reciprocals, USAA, so member-owned kind of a policy. So they're hoping they gather people that may not first reaction to be to sue their insurance company to get more, but to feel like they're part owner of that company.
And Representative Caruso, this is one of the positive signs that Republicans have told us they were anticipating. And Mr. Gregg actually told me it was the reforms that led to them reconsidering entering the Florida marketplace.
Well, I think it is a good sign. It's a great sign. The more companies come into the industry in Florida, the better for the industry itself. It'll make it healthier and should end up driving rates down. One thing I'd like to see, though,
right.
Which I'd like to do next year in the legislature, is to go back and require more, mandate more capital requirements for these companies. I think we've had this tendency where they come, they hear during the good years when once a hurricane hits, they pack up their stuff, they pay big bonuses out to the CEO on the way out the door and leave us high and dry, and that's not what we want. We want solid companies that stay here for the long term.
It certainly angers Mr. Petronas when companies leave the state, and he's pretty colorful in his language about that sometimes. Senator Berman, these new companies coming in, but we're not seeing a lot of condo movement with companies coming in to insure condos. And I know your district is pretty heavy in South Palm Beach County with a lot of condos. Redfin, of course, made a big stir recently with their report about condo sales prices dropping in Florida because of this insurance crisis.
I mean, condos have a double whammy because of the Surfside, what happened where the building collapsed. So we, in the legislature, rightfully so, went back and said, you need to do a structural engineer report if you're 30 years or older and if you're 3 stories or higher. And we said you need to have reserves in place to fix these items. So condo owners, unfortunately, are being hit with huge fees to bring their buildings up to code and to make sure that they're safe, and we're not going to have that. So the combination of the property insurance and the Surfside issues have made it really difficult, and I feel and a lot of people in the condos are on fixed incomes.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement that has to come in that part of the marketplace. We're going to take our last break, and we'll wrap things up. Stay with us. Yep. All right, welcome back. Representative Edmonds, welcome back too. Thanks for coming back. We want to wrap things up. We know that this is a very frustrating and stressful subject, and it's hard to find the hope and the good news in this, but we're in 2024. Lee, I'm going to start with you. We are 3 months away from the start of hurricane season, which I don't need to remind Floridians of. It's embedded in our brains. What are we looking forward to? What are you looking forward to this year?
I'm looking forward to the budding signs of recovery we're seeing in this industry to start really blooming. We talked about the new companies coming in. I'm seeing companies that have been in Florida that know this market really well, that have had really age restrictions on what they can write. They're expanding those age restrictions. So we're seeing capacity open back up. That's going to take relief off of Citizens. That's going to take relief off some of these other carriers. And I believe that competition in the marketplace is our big key out of it, and that's what we're seeing starting.
Well, let's hope you're right. Senator Berman, you have any final thoughts or anything that you're hopefully looking forward to this year?
So one of the things that I think we didn't get a chance to talk about is we put together a tax package, and we did put a $500 million tax break, and that is on the premium that you're paying on your insurance and also for flood. The numbers may not be as big per person as we would like to see. It's we've seen that the numbers are probably going to be about $60 per family and $75 if you have flood insurance. But at least it's a start. We are working in the legislature. We want to get money so that people can pay for it.
All right, Representative Caruso, go ahead.
Well, Matt, I'm optimistic for the industry. I think that we're on it's a long road to recovery, and we're well on our way there. We've seen 275,000 policies come off of the Citizens rolls and into the marketplace, or the free market, which is great. We've seen litigation go down as a result of the tort reform that we did with regards to property insurance. And I think that combined, give it time, let it settle, I think we'll be fine 18 months to 3 years from now.
All right, Representative Edmonds, go ahead.
I'm very hopeful. I think this is going to be a combination of long-term solutions and short-term solutions. I'm going to refile that bill to give residents payments for their mortgages and insurance. This is something I made up. This came from the federal government during COVID, and I think we can just codify that into state law and give residents the money they need to survive this storm.
Well, I mean, I would say to all three of you, don't stop trying, right? Because that's what people at home are saying. Don't stop trying. And I think Mr. Petronas even told me that this is a recurring thing. You're going to have to tackle this every year. So spend the year wisely and think of some more good ideas for all of us that we can report on and let people know about. So
we'll keep brainstorming.
All right. I thank you all for taking part in our discussion. I hope it was informative and somewhat helpful for all of you folks at home to watch. And we want to continue to encourage all of you watching at home to stay in touch with us here at News Channel 5. Email me, email the station, call us. Let us know how you're doing, how you're coping with insurance. Let us know about your problems. We're here to listen. And I appreciate all of you at home taking the time out to watch our Coverage Collapse program. Have a good evening.